Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I will be tracking the significant severe weather today and tomorrow across the southern plains and the southeastern states, followed by a winter storm that is likely to produce heavy snow across the north through Saturday, the 18th, and then another west coast storm will be tracking into early next week across California and the west coast on Monday into Tuesday. We'll go over those details later on in this video. If you guys are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on all of my daily weather forecast updates each and every morning at 9 a.m. on this channel. I cover Canada, the United States, and the tropics during tropical weather season, so subscribe down below, and also don't forget to press the like button, the thumbs up button down below the video. It definitely helps out to get as many people to watch this video as possible. So I definitely appreciate all the likes out there. Let's try to get over 1,000 likes in this video. That is definitely much appreciated. So looking here at the day today, we have a significant severe weather outbreak potentially unfolding across the southern plains and the Arklatex. Later on today, the Storm Prediction Center still maintains a level 3 of 5 and enhanced risk of severe weather across southeastern portions of Oklahoma, extreme southwestern Arkansas, and northeast Texas. This does include the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and then over to the east towards Texarkana later on today. A more widespread area of a slight risk at level 2 of 5 in the yellow shaded colors. This includes the Shreveport, the Monroe, Louisiana regions, just southwest of Little Rock, getting up here closer towards the Norman, Oklahoma region, south of Tulsa, getting in toward the San Antonio, Austin, and even the Waco regions later on today. So we definitely want to be on high alert because we do have severe weather unfolding likely later on today across these areas. We have a 30% area of potentially damaging winds over 60 miles per hour across the southern plains here, and a larger 15% shading here with winds that could be over 58 miles per hour and likely up to 70 miles per hour with some of these gusts later on today. Some large hail, even a significant hatched 30% risk for large hail here into southern Oklahoma near the Red River, and in North Texas. This includes the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Sherman, Texas, up here toward Denison, the McKinney region, and then up there toward portions of southern and southeastern Oklahoma. That is for golf ball size hail or larger later on today with the initial storms as they push southeast, and then yes, a 2 to 5% shading for tornadoes as we move through northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, southwestern Arkansas, and northwestern Louisiana through the day. So looking at the severe weather setup today, why we're seeing this, we have high temperatures ahead of the cold front here. And I'm sure you can pick that out across the southern plains. Ahead of that front, we'll be in the upper 70s, if not lower 80s here into central and northeast Texas. Behind the front, temperatures will be in the 30s and 40s. And zooming this in, it'll be near 85 degrees just west of the Fort Worth region by mid-afternoon. But up here into the Panhandle near Amarillo of Texas, yeah, we're going to be in the middle to upper 30s behind that front. So a very strong front, and that means a lot of lift with this storm. And we also have a lot of moisture. The Gulf of Mexico is open for business here, and along and ahead of that cold front / dry line, we will have more of those dew points rising into the lower and middle 60s, and that will directly impact the energy levels needed for thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms at that later on today. This is what we call CAPE, or convective available potential energy. And wherever you see these yellows and oranges, that's where you can bet for around 2,000 to 2,500 joules per kilogram here, which is the higher the number, the more energy there is for severe weather. And we definitely have a decent number there, about 2,000 joules per kilogram. And the kinematics with this system, we have very strong westerlies in the jet stream, in the mid-level jet here, rounding in here across the southern plains around 50, 60 knots or thereabout here, and a little bit stronger up into Oklahoma, and a decent low-level jet in the 850 millibar layer, kind of pronouncing that tornado risk and those supercells as they move across the southern plains in the Arklatex later on today. So timing this out, 1 o'clock, again, you definitely tell where that cold front is. With that cold air, we're going to see snow immediately behind that here into southeastern Colorado, northeastern New Mexico, the Panhandle, Oklahoma, on up into central Kansas. But ahead of that, we're going to see some storms start to initiate right over the Oklahoma City metro area down here toward Lawton, Fort Sill, and maybe southwestward toward the Vernon, Texas, and Wichita Falls region by 1 o'clock. But by 6 o'clock this evening, we're going to see a line of storms develop from southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas toward the Fayetteville region, Fort Smith, and then down into southeastern Oklahoma. The southernmost extent of these storms could be the ones to produce those very large hailstones over 2 inches in diameter, as well as those 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, and maybe even a couple embedded tornadoes as well. And then by the time we get into late evening, those will cross through Texarkana, the DFW Metroplex, Austin, San Antonio, and the Waco regions, and then farther south toward the Tyler, Texas region by 10 o'clock. As we get into the overnight hours, so early Friday morning at 3 a.m., this will be passing through Shreveport and over here in towards portions of Monroe, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, and then getting closer to the Galveston, Houston region as we go through 3 a.m. and then finally getting closer toward the Gulf of Mexico by the time we open up our Friday morning at 7 a.m. here for that morning rush. So even though you don't see the severe weather potentially in some areas, not everybody will see that, but a lot more of us will see the heavy rain, those total rainfall accumulations on Thursday today into Friday tomorrow on the 17th. We will be seeing a nice swath of these darker blues and purples down here that indicates 1 to as much as 2 inches of rain really centered on southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and far east Texas. And even some of that heavier rain extends up into portions of Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, and parts of Iowa as well. That won't be severe. We're just going to have a heavy rainfall shield up farther to the north with some rumbles of thunder at times. But where we see the heaviest of the rain, those 1 to 2 inch rainfall amounts here in a short amount of time, that's where we have to be concerned about some flash flooding. This is for southern Arkansas, northern portions of Louisiana, East Texas, and extreme southeastern Oklahoma. That is what we'll have to watch here going through the day today and into your Friday morning. Then as we go into Friday, the severe weather threat shifts off to the east as the cold front shifts off to the east, southeast as well. We're going to have that slight risk all the way up here toward portions of New Orleans, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the Gulfport region up there towards Mobile, Alabama, getting closer to Tallahassee there, Panama City, Pensacola, those areas are at risk for maybe a couple of tornadoes, but also those damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. But we won't have a lot of instability built up in the atmosphere. These storms will be moving through earlier on in the day, so we won't have enough time to get a bunch of instability needed for large hail out there, and that is why that hail threat is less than 5% in all areas. So looking by noontime frame on Friday, again, these storms will be moving through quicker, so mainly a heavy rain, damaging wind, followed by tornado threat on the noontime frame on Friday, again, from New Orleans on up there towards southern Mississippi, toward the Hattiesburg region. Maybe just some general rain showers and rumbles of thunder up there toward Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, the Chattanooga region, and Atlanta by noon. That will push eastward with the squall line by 6 p.m. on Friday. Some of these storms, again, could be a little feistier with some strong wind gusts, some large hail, and maybe even a brief spin-up tornado. But again, a lot of this will be sub-severe probably even by 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday. And then by the time we open up on Saturday morning at 7 a.m., that cold front and this system will be moving off the East Coast with just some remnant rain showers across the eastern Carolinas, portions of coastal Georgia, and then North Florida as well. Maybe an isolated thunderstorm moving in toward the Orlando or Jacksonville area by 7 a.m. on Saturday. But the colder air is going to be on the northern side of this system. So in the 850 millibar layer, those low-level temperatures will support all snow up here for the most part across the northern plains and the upper Midwest, not only today, but a very strong push of temperatures and colder weather will be on Friday as well. You can see these purples and pinks showing up. That is some exceptionally cold air for March up here across the upper Midwest. And looking at this here today, temperatures with that deep snowpack will be struggling to reach the middle 20s up into the Dakotas, especially eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. You see all the spring-like temperatures all across the southern and southeastern United States, but a stronger push of cold air will be moving in with teens for highs up here across the Dakotas, western Minnesota, and even 20s down as far south as central Iowa, northwestern Illinois, and much of central and western Wisconsin. With that cold front dropping south on Friday, we're back to the 40s and 50s from Texas all the way up toward Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. A lot of those areas will be cooling off back to the 40s and 50s out there on Friday. So looking at the cold side of this system, we do have a shield of snow setting up across central Minnesota, back into western Iowa, eastern portions of Nebraska by noon time frame today. That'll be pushing quickly toward the upper Great Lakes, toward northern Wisconsin, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and especially Ontario by this evening. And then by the time we open up our Friday morning at 6 a.m. for the morning rush hour, a lot of that moderate to heavier snowfall will be falling across Ontario, Canada, into western Quebec, and especially near Lake Superior up there toward the UP of Michigan as we get into that 6 a.m. time frame on Friday. That system will continue with more of that heavy snowfall kind of elongating itself from the Ontario region in towards Quebec and maybe even parts of northern Maine as we go into 9 p.m. on Friday here tomorrow evening. Looking at the rainfall accumulations, initially we're going to see some decent rains right along that front from the portions of the Carolinas down through the central Gulf Coast states. 1 to 2 inches of rain can be expected there from New Orleans all the way up toward Raleigh, North Carolina. That will spell trouble for at least a marginal threat for flash flooding. This does include the Atlanta metro area, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Mobile, down here towards Jackson, Mississippi, and New Orleans, and even parts of northwestern Florida on Friday into Saturday. But the snowfall threat will be there, so a narrow zone of at least a few inches of snow, some plowable snow, especially as you get into northern Wisconsin, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and the UP of Michigan up here, and even into Ontario, where we could see over a foot of snow. A lot of these areas going through Saturday, March 18th, and zooming it in here, a nice solid swath of about 2 to 5 inches worth of snow down here can be expected from northeastern portions of Nebraska on up through the Twin Cities region. And then as we go into northern Wisconsin up here toward Rhinelander, even Duluth, Minnesota, a lot of these areas will be over 6 inches, and parts of the UP of Michigan closer to Lake Superior with some of that lake effect enhancement to the snow could be over a foot of snow, potentially approaching a foot and a half up to 18 inches in some of these areas. But it will be bringing lots of wind as well. So this system will be tightening up, and as it does so, we're going to have some stronger wind gusts. Wherever you see the reds here, we're going to be seeing winds over 40 miles per hour with our wind gusts going through Friday morning. So through today, tonight, and into Friday morning. And then a larger zone with these purple shaded colors, that's at least 30 mile per hour wind gusts going through today, tonight, and into Friday morning. So definitely, if you have any loose objects outside that can blow around easily, definitely bring them in because they will be blowing around. Trash cans, anything like that, definitely much appreciated. But yeah, as we go through that temperature anomaly this weekend with that huge cold blast moving in, it's going to be colder. Again, we're going to have another setback in our temperatures. We're going to be seeing temperatures falling another 10 to 20 degrees below average all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley and the Gulf Coast going through early on this weekend. And you can see that here reflected by our high temperatures on Saturday. Temperatures will be in the teens and 20s all across not only the northern plains or the upper Midwest, but also the Great Lakes and parts of the Ohio Valley. Still chillier down to the south for this time of year as well. 40s and 50s down here across the southern plains, the Tennessee Valley, and the southeast. You're going to have to go all the way down to central or southern Florida or even southern portions of Arizona or even California to see some nice warmth on Saturday with temperatures in the 70s and 80s out there. But as we go into Sunday, March 19th, we will start to modify some of this colder air up to the north, but still those 20s and 30s for highs will make it very chilly going into the day on Sunday. But again, we will be quieting down our weather patterns. Starting on Saturday, still some precipitation across the east and the southern United States, especially though as we go into Sunday, with exception to the west coast, seeing some rain showers there into California and western Oregon. We will have a strong high pressure system dominating the cold air here across the eastern 2/3 of the country, but bringing lots more sunshine across a lot of these areas that have been gloomy for the past few days. So that will be a welcome sight going into our Sunday, March 19th. The long-range weather pattern does favor colder anomalies, colder temperatures across the western 2/3 of the country going right straight through March 25th here, and then a little bit of that extends across the southeast with some unsettled weather as well. Otherwise, the rest of us into the Midwest and the Northeast can expect near normal temperatures into the third week here in March. It will be very active with, again, well above normal precipitation all across the West Coast, the upper Midwest, and even the Southeast. A little nose here of western Texas could be into below normal category, especially down toward the Rio Grande Valley. But other than that, we're seeing a lot of active weather going into that third week in March. And again, that's some beneficial news because the drought monitor is out here. That was released on Thursday, March 9th, and we do still see the drought building across the Great Plains. But out west, it is starting to ease up a little bit more across California, Nevada, and much of the West Coast with relentless storms moving across those areas. Of course, we don't like to see a lot of flooding, but it is definitely helping out that long-term drought out across the West. And as we go into this weekend, we're going to see dry time across the West. You can see these brown anomalies in California and the West Coast. That means drier air. But not too far off the coast, we'll start to see these greens and blues showing up. That is some more moisture moving closer to the coastline, and that will arrive on Monday into Tuesday of early next week and provide us with our next West Coast snowstorm, our snowstorm, and also here our rainstorm. The snowstorm in the higher elevations, the rainstorm in the lower elevations, and that's what we'll be watching here for California, Nevada, Arizona, and much of the Four Corners region getting through that Tuesday, March 21st. Time frame. So looking at that here on Sunday, again, we will start to introduce some precipitation, mainly rainfall across the west coast of Oregon and northern California. Some snow in the higher elevations of the Sierra Nevadas is definitely possible. Much more of this moisture moves in across central portions of California, say the Sacramento Valley region, southern California here into western Arizona. But the higher elevations will definitely still see the snow on Monday, March 20th. Then as we go into Tuesday, March 21st, a lot more of the moisture moves inland here across the Four Corners here and across the Pacific Southwest. A lot of the Sierra Nevada mountains here are going to be getting crushed with more snowfall and additional heavy rain, which could lead to more flooding, not only for coastal California, but the Los Angeles region, San Diego, down here toward the Phoenix region, Flagstaff. A lot of these areas could be seeing more flooding as we go into early next week. Looking at the snowfall out west with this system, again, another few feet of snow is on the way going from now all the way through Tuesday, March 21st across the west, and even those higher elevations, say northern Arizona, much of New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Nevada, we will be picking up some decent snows in those mountainous terrain areas going into early next week. Looking at the rainfall accumulation from now through Tuesday, March 21st, again, another soaker out here to the west, especially coastal California, this time more so into Southern California and Arizona, where we'll be talking about rainfall amounts over 2 inches in a lot of these areas in the pinks and reds out here. So definitely have to watch out for flooding as we get in towards early portion of next week. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you guys liked the video, press the thumbs up down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Thursday, everybody. A great rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next video.